Hello blade fans, welcome back to This Old Sword Blade Reviews. This Old Sword is with you once again, and we have an interesting and unique neck knife fixed blade today from none other than Kansept, and I believe this might be their first fixed blade if we're looking at categories. The Kansept is well known, of course, for their many folders from many designers. And the designer for this guy is Ostap. He's been coming out with some unusual knives lately that are a little different than his norm. And his norm being he's known for a set of very small knives, the Flower series, including the Tulip and the that little push dagger, the Strellet, and so forth. This one's definitely a neck knife and definitely small. It's made from 14C28N steel, Sandvik steel. It is very light and very small. We're going to do some measurements on it momentarily. It's a Wharncliffe style with some effective jimping in two spots. It can be held a number of different ways. We'll get into that a little bit as well. Comes complete with a Kydex neck sheath, which could be transposed for pocket carry because you've got a nice push-off ramp there to be able to carry it without the chain in the pocket and simply push that off like that. Let's put the sheath aside for a moment. There isn't too much to it, but it does the job. And take another look at it. This one's quite nicely done in kind of a bead blast finish. There's also a black coated finish, a gray coated finish, I think maybe a green or something very vibrant like that, and a titanium black coating that's becomes part of the metal. There's your marking for 14C28N. And looks like a model or a stock number. There's Kansept's logo. And we're going to measure it up real quick, and then we're going to give you some comparisons. So very small, overall 5 3/4 inches. And we're going to use the cutting edge is about just shy of 2 inches. We have a blade stock, which is the entire knife really, in millimeters of 3.9. A little thicker than I thought. Yep, 3.9. And obviously we're not going to do a handle thickness because it's the same as the blade stock. But we are going to get a weight, which should be quite light. And of the knife alone, only 1.2 ounces, 1.23. If we were to put the sheath on, I'm not going to bother taking the chain off, but just in case you're wearing it around your neck, it's 1.88 ounces. And I'm not a big neck knife fan. I didn't get it because I want to wear a neck knife. But there are a number of other ways that it can be carried. But let's talk about the ways in which it can be deployed and employed. Obviously, it's got a karambit style ring in a hex shape, and we'll get into that little bit of a controversy in a moment as well, because this isn't the first karambit style knife with a hex ring. The ring set forward as it should be of the center line of the blade so that you can hold it straight pretty much if you decide to use the ring. The edge is forward, but you've still got a very useful point if you're considering this as a defensive type knife, martial blade concepts, etc. But can also be used very effectively as a nice little utility blade, as you can see. You can use that point very easily, can cut with the edge, and you can choke right up if you needed to use that in a hurry. Now the ring, I see a lot of rings on knives with the main advantage being that it's a great way to get it out of the sheath. You don't necessarily have to hold it with a pinky through there because that takes some time. You don't necessarily have to hold it in karambit fashion with the index finger through the ring. And by the way, that's about as far as you should ever go if you're using a ring, so you can get your finger out quickly, but also so that you get the alignment. You don't want to wear it like a piece of jewelry way up near the knuckle there. Hard to get out of the hand, hard to change grip should that be what you want to do. And I wouldn't really spin this knife around and do any tricks with it. You may want to fidget with it, but keep in mind you can always get cut, like a balisong or anything else that you fidget with. You can place the thumb right up there, and I think it works very well without the fingers through the ring because you see the alignment. Now once I put the fingers through the ring, look at the alignment. For this type of hammering use of the point, it hooks downward too much instead of going out the way we want it to go. So when I readjust, let's see if I can get back out even a little bit more. When I readjust this way, I've got a very good grip. This ring gets right into the upper palm, and I can hang on to that very well because that middle finger is got retention. And yet, if I wanted to drop the knife for any reason, I could do that as well. My old Kali instructor used to say, drop your knife, lose your life. And that's true in many parts of the world. So let's talk about a little bit of scuttlebutt I've heard on Instagram. Shouldn't be, but here we have a knife designed by Alessandra De Santis for Tuya knife, and it's called the Aswang. And I don't know if you can see on the phone there, but it does have a hexagonal ring. Okay? So credit given where credit is due. And she designed that before this knife design came out. But hey, there's also the DEFCON Raptor karambit, which has got a couple of points there, but we're not going to really call that hexagonal. There have been some variants on it, but where did the ring come from in the first place? For the most part, from Indonesia, from the karambits that are used in Indonesia, and the ones later that hit the Philippines that were used in the fields for harvesting various types of vegetables and whatnot. So the ring was used for retention and used for directing the blade and retention in the Indonesian martial arts of Salat, etc., etc. So yes, this is not the first knife to have a ring that is hexagonally shaped, but there are so many ideas out there. Let me show you something else that's similar. Don't know how many of you are familiar with the Tour Jank Shank, but just check this out for a moment. Looking at the blades. Look a little familiar? They're both modified Warncliffes. We got a little more going on up here with the swedge on the top, etc. It's a little different. But essentially, you're looking at a very similar but larger blade in the Jank Shank, and it has a ring, although not hexagonal. Interesting defensive knife, by the way, the Jank Shank. Tour makes some interesting stuff. Maybe I'll have more to review. For comparison of size, here is the Sea Snake by Artisan, designed by Mike Emler. And you see that's larger, even though it is a very small and a lightweight knife, and yet extremely useful. I think it's a great design. His Sand Shark, which is larger from Wee, is also an excellent fixed blade design. So this can be a useful EDC knife. It can be a useful last-ditch defense knife, and plenty of beef there, as you can see at the tip. That much is similar again to the thickness we have out at the end of the jank shank, which is even a thicker stock to begin with. Jank shank is S35VN, and this guy once again is Sandvik 14C28N. I think it's a neat and useful little knife. I would carry it in the pocket to pull out quickly by thumbing off the sheath. I'd get rid of the chain. Thing about neck knives is they tend to swing around and move position, and not the greatest thing. I do like the jimping they put here. It's not just token jimping, it's a good, effective jimping. I would even say this is sort of a less expensive version. I think this came in roughly around $40. You'll see the link to White Mountain Knives where this was bought in the description. But I think for the money, you've got a less expensive option than something like a Bastinelli knife, where he's doing a very similar sort of thing. These minimalist knives with a ring and various blade shapes. I think he has a picour and pica. Don't know all the different little names. And they've been copied by third parties. But here you have one very similar if you're looking for a small knife with a ring. It's kind of a last-ditch thing, or, as they say, utility knife. It's very, very nice, and interesting that Ostap, Polish knife designer, decided to make this particular one, and interestingly also that he decided to use the HEX in the ring, very similar, if not identical, to the Aswang by Tuya knife designed by Alessandra De Santis, giving credit where credit is due. If you look at some of the old painters going way back, you'll see that copying is not something new, and using similar themes is not something new. All you really need to do is study art history. It's eye-opening. So again, credit given where credit is due, as somebody on Instagram had asked me when I posted a picture of this. So there you go. All great designers, and I have a number of Alessandra's knives from Wee and from several other makers. So some really good stuff, really good ideas, particularly for tactical knives. Okay, there you go. A little bit long-winded on a single knife, but just had to throw all of the caveats and explanations in there. Hope you enjoyed this review. Don't forget to give it a like and subscribe.